What's up, everyone? Appreciate y'all taking a second to check out this video. Try not to be too negative with this one, but I don't know. I've just been thinking about, I guess, my journey over the last decade or so of trying to chase my dream of being, I guess you would call it, a professional bass angler. I'm no different than most probably watching this. Like, there's always been a dream there to do it. I've always wanted to try and, fulfill that dream of making it to the Bassmaster Elite Series, or, at one point it was the FLW Tour, or, I wanted to be on the Wheaties box, the whole 9 yards. I've been chasing this for 2 decades now, at least, right? But really, really chasing it for at least the last 10 years as hard as I possibly can. And I just figured I'd share a couple of lessons I've learned over, that last 2 decades of, chasing your dream. And I guess I figure I'd start with the true cost, right? Like, there's definitely a cost associated with chasing your dream, and whatever you do, right? If you're NBA, NFL, you want to be a park ranger, whatever, right? There's sacrifices you got to make in order to fulfill your dream. And for me, it's been at the cost of pretty much everything in my life. Friendships, relationships, time, jobs, money, lots of money. I've sacrificed a lot in the pursuit of trying to get just to the Elite Series, or to, a tour of some kind. And what I'll say is you've got to be prepared to lose a lot to get there, to sacrifice a lot. Every dollar that I made in my late teens, in all of my 20s, and even so far into my 30s, has went to that. And looking back on it, I'm kind of ashamed, to be quite honest with you. I wonder how far I put myself behind the ball, how far I put my family and my children behind the ball. And obviously I have to live with that, right? I think I heard Brandon Polinick say this one time. You have to be inherently selfish to try and pursue this goal. If this is what you want to do, you've got to be so selfish that it's almost not fair to anyone around you. And before I met my wife, and before I had my children, I was that guy. I was selfish. I cared about nothing but furthering my goal. And looking back on it now, I don't know if that was the right call. I don't know that you should ever not pursue your dreams, right? I think we all have a calling in life. I know my calling in life is fishing. But at what cost, right? Or am I willing to hurt the people around me and potentially hurt their future in order to be selfish and chase my dream? And I think this year especially, a lot of that's come to a head. Not to get into personal issues and stuff, but it's been a very challenging year for my family. We've been struggling pretty hard with my son, with some health things going on, and I think and I've had one of the worst fishing seasons that I've ever had, and I don't think those two, aren't combined, aren't related. I definitely think that, my fishing is taking a back seat. My preparation's taking a back seat. My practice, my whole thought process, really. I mean, I'm not even thinking about fishing hardly anymore like I used to be. I used to obsess about it all day long, 24/7. And I think when you realize kind of what's more important in life, You start to realize that fishing is fun, but there's definitely bigger things in life than fishing. I'm definitely starting to realize that. And so, the cost of chasing your dream is a lot more than just, people realize it. There's human cost, there's time I'll never get back. Said lots of friendships people, I'm sure there's people that will watch this video that I've known and met throughout my life, and you guys could probably attest that I pretty much just fell off the radar. Once I realized that this is what I wanted to do, I just became a recluse. I never went out anymore. I stopped calling, I stopped texting, and I just became so hyper focused on furthering that goal and getting to the Elite Series that I just forgot about everyone around me, which is, it's just not a good thing to do, right? Missed a lot of birthdays, dinners, bar nights with the buds, you name it. And yeah, I became a really good fisherman, I feel like, but at what cost, and even then, really good is relative, right? Because here I am, I'm not on any tour. I've got no, financial sponsorship help at all. Like I have no paying sponsors, and I appreciate, I do have Daiwa USA. Obviously they help me a lot. Dance's Sporting Goods, I appreciate the heck out of you guys taking me in. PH Custom Lures, the people that have rocked with me from the beginning. And I don't take them for granted. But, in order to chase this dream, you got to have more than just product, right? You've got to be able to pay for this, to do this, right? And that leads me into my other point of, I've spent well north of $100,000 trying to do this. And I'm today really no closer than I was 10 years ago. And I've burned credit cards down and paid them off, and burned them back down and paid them off. And, I don't have much to show for it. And I've got a better gig, I think, than most when it comes to my, opportunity to succeed. I won an open, won a boat, was able to use that boat, sold that boat, paid off debt that I had bought way too much fishing tackle, and I was able to get out of debt scot-free one time with the boat. I've had some incredible support from my job in doing some of these things with time off and things like that. And I still don't know how I could do it. I really don't. Like, I feel like I've got almost a dream set up with my position at work and where I'm at in life, to potentially make a run at it outside of being my own business owner. I do feel like I'm probably as well positioned as almost anybody to kind of make a run at it, and even then it seems almost unattainable. I want to maybe take another shot at the Opens, or maybe go fish some Toyota Series, and this year I was contemplating whether or not I wanted to go fish the pro circuit. And the more I think about it, I just don't know if any of those things are smart financial decisions. Actually, I know they aren't, right? Like they're not smart financial decisions. You don't do this because you want to make money, especially when you're paying it on your own dime. Without help, this dream is almost unattainable, guys. I mean, I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but you need to know, right? And you need to know what you're potentially doing to your future by chasing it now. I'm a product of that. I'm 33 years old. I've got a great job. Make more money than I thought I'd ever make in my life. And there's no way that I could actually afford this without serious help from, sponsorship money. There's just no way. Like there's zero chance that I could do this. The math does not lie. Now I got credit, and I could run the credit up, but I'm kind of at the point in my life where I've done that 3 or 4 times now and got myself out of a hole, and I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to hurt my family any more than I already have. And I just don't know where to go from here, I guess. And I just really wanted to say, if you're a young kid and you're doing this, you just got to know what you're signing up for. I hope you have support. I hope you have a family that's able to support you to chase this dream. I hope financially you don't strain yourself in order to do this. If you have help, if you have a company that's willing to support you, pay your entry fees and do things like that, go for it. If not, think long and hard about your future before you do something like this. I don't even have a boat payment, so, and I don't have a boat payment. I've got a paid off boat. I've got a great job, time off, and I still can't think of how I could afford to travel, pay entry fees on some of these things, pay gas for all these things, and come out ahead. There is no coming out ahead. It's just, the math does not math. Without some financial support from someone else, the math doesn't math for me. So, you just need to know that. Don't ever give up on your dream. Don't ever give up on where you want to be in life. But, proceed with caution is what I will say. Proceed with caution. Do not put yourself behind the ball like I did. Because here I am in my early 30s, and I've won some tournaments. I've won some money. But I'm no closer. I'm no closer than I was 5 years ago, and all I've done is financially strain myself. And I don't know. I just don't want to see young kids make the same mistake I did. If you got help, that's great. If you don't got help, don't ruin your future to do this. Stay local. Be smart. Think about what you're spending your money on. That $800, $900, $1,000 a month boat payment goes a long ways in a brokerage account, in a 401k. Just be smart. That's what I'll say. Don't ever give up on your dreams, but proceed with caution. So, hope you guys have a good rest of your day.